Update on that breaking brush fire that's happening right now in Birmingham.
And we look at the latest drought monitor and see if there's any hope of rain in the forecast for November.
Plus, the South isn't the only area dealing with cold weather. How other states are also handling the polar plunge.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
And we appreciate you staying with us for First Alert Weather Extra, joined now by meteorologist Lauren Linehan and Tania Michelle. I got to tell you guys, every time we start talking about rain, November, I think about that rock song, November Rain. We need it. Bad.
We need it.
We do. We do. And I feel like
That's a
every
good one.
time we talk about rain, a few days later, it disappears. So
Yeah.
it never ends up happening.
That's the thing, you know, when you get into these droughts, it's so tough to break out of these patterns, and you'll see that chance of rain, you get closer, and then the rain chances start backing off.
And you know, Wes, we are seeing the proof today of what those drought conditions can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully we've got some views here. I pulled the tower camera up, and maybe a little too dark here, but we'll go to our view right now. Yeah, you can barely see in there, but there was a large smoke plume right now, and folks you can tell there's a fire in the vicinity if you're in North Birmingham right now. We've had this large brush fire. Notice the wind, though. I want to show you there our First Alert Sky Vision. It's east at 3 miles per hour. It's backed off, but it was a bit higher earlier. But what that's doing is that's driving where this fire is located is in North Birmingham right here around a SIPCO and off of Daniel Payne Drive, Finley Boulevard, those areas, Hooper City. But you may be noticing as that smoke from that easterly wind gets transported back to the west direction. Just giving you the first alert here if you're around Thomas, Minor, Crumley Chapel, Adamsville. If you're noticing something's burning, that's what it is. It's that brush fire that we're monitoring, which is under control right now, but we're about to go for a live report. We're going to check in there across Birmingham. But I want to show you right now another big story that we have, and of course the dry conditions a big factor for us, but it looks like during the overnight still could see freezing temperatures again. Already seeing some 40s showing up, and we reached highs in the 60s after starting off in the 20s. Big turnaround in temperatures. And again tonight, as we noted in the news at 6 o'clock, temperatures will drop into the 40s quickly all across the area. So be ready for a chilly Thursday night and out the door tomorrow morning. Again, new data showing lows near freezing right around Aliceville, that freezing line. You can see some outlying areas even showing us touching freezing perhaps around Wilsonville, Clanton, certainly around Talladega, Anniston. See some 20s there on the map. So a first alert again for freezing temperatures early tomorrow morning, but looks like the next couple nights we'll start to see some modification. It's still chilly, but we'll see temperatures staying above the freezing range as we go into our weekend. But as I noted, we're still actively monitoring the brush fire that's been impacting parts of the Birmingham area. Let's head over to meteorologist Lauren Linehan as we check in for a live report.
Yeah, Wes, we had that breaking news just a few hours ago when we were actually spotting the brush fire taking place from atop here on Red Mountain, just to the south of Fultondale. And so we want to get an update on how things are going. We join now with Oliviana Calmes, and she is live on the scene. Oliviana, could you tell us more about what's going on?
Yeah, Lauren, you're talking about this wind really playing a factor in all of this, and that's what Birmingham Fire and Rescue Services says as they've been battling this brush fire. You can still see that smoke coming up above the trees behind me here. That's been one of the obstacles they've been facing, and they have asked for help from Alabama Forestry, and that's who's been out here with heavy equipment helping out with Birmingham Fire and Rescue to put this out. So they tell us that it is currently contained, like you said. They've begun to back burn from the fire breaks. They've been doing that for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours now, and they are on scene. They'll be here, he said, he doesn't know exactly how long. He said that he would hope that it would only be a couple more hours, but he did say that no buildings were affected and there were no injuries, whether civilians or firefighters. But he did say, you know, right now the weather is just not it, and to be really, really careful with anything you might throw out your window. Especially.
It could be any number of things, from a vehicle dragging a chain or something going down the road sparking to somebody throwing out a cigarette butt. As you're aware, right now we're under a no burn order of the state, and it's because of the weather conditions, so it's not unusual to see this type of fire activity. Be mindful of that and take appropriate actions and precautions not to start these fires by throwing things out of your vehicle that may cause a roadside fire.
And this is on Daniel Payne Drive, so they do ask that anyone who's having go through here, if you can take another route, do that, but we'll continue to keep you updated with any new details in this brush fire. For now, live in Birmingham, Oliviana Kelmes, WBRC, Fox 6 News, on your side.
All right, stay safe out there, and of course be extra cautious. Avoid burning in these dry setups that we have across the state right now. Extreme drought conditions now for parts of the area. And just to give you the latest on that drought monitor right now, here's Mickey and Matt checking in with the latest monitor.
You know, it's been super dry, Mickey. The drought continues to intensify. We need the rain, but the only thing that's falling from the sky isn't the rain.
Yeah?
It's the leaves.
Oh, wow.
I know. Isn't this magical?
Hey.
In a studio, too, to have all these leaves falling.
Hey, at wintertime, can you put up some snowflakes so I can run around and catch them on my tongue?
I'll work on that.
Because the leaves are kind of choking.
We'll get rid of the leaves. There you
All right,
go.
thank you.
Here's the latest drought monitor. Just came out this morning. Fresh.
It is. We have now extreme drought into some of our areas into Winston and Coleman counties. And the severe drought has now extended into several populated counties, Tuscaloosa, Jefferson, Shelby counties, up 59 up to Etowah County, Cherokee County included in that. So it's not quite as severe as it is to areas of our west into Mississippi, but still severe to extreme drought. That's something that's pretty serious.
Yeah, and let's do a comparison. Let's show you last week in comparison to this week, and you can see there's a lot more red on the map, and that's indicating that extreme drought developing in North Alabama and also in far southwest Alabama. So I really do think by the time we see this map a week from today, we're probably going to see these colors continue to increase in red and orange.
Yeah, because as we've seen in our 7-day first alert forecast, that we still have very dry weather.
That's right. So we could use the rain, and just to give you an idea when it comes to rainfall in November, December, January, we start to see more chances for rainfall. Normally September and October is our driest months. So for Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and Anniston, we'll average about 4 1/4 to about 4 1/2 inches of rainfall for the month. Obviously, nothing at the moment. It's only been, what, a day or two.
October is typically our driest month,
Right.
but we didn't get hardly any rain in
No,
October.
less than an inch in many spots. But here's a comparison. Highlighted we are here for November. So you can see normally we'll see rain chances increase as we go into winter. And of course, March is normally one of our wetter months.
Yeah, but
so hopefully the pattern will change.
Yeah, not only do we have more rain in December, sometimes we enter into that secondary severe weather season. So let's hope we don't get that, but we, could really use the rain.
And here's the outlook from the Weather Prediction Center showing rainfall potential over the next 7 days.
Not seeing much.
Crickets, yeah.
Maybe you need to put up the leaf graphic again. At least it was pretty.
Well, I don't have it prepared. But,
Okay,
but you get the idea. We're not going to see much in the way of rainfall over the next 7 days. Hopefully this pattern will change as we go into the second half of November.
Getting a little dry. Getting a little dry.
Need some water?
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt and Mickey. But what could be the possible solution for the drought as we head into the final months of the year? Meteorologist J.P. Dice spoke with Assistant State Climatologist Lee Ellenberg, who says El Nino could provide some much needed relief.
We all know we are in a significant drought, at least across parts of the state. And this takes me back to 2016 when we had a significant drought here in the state. How do the two compare?
Yeah, so I mean, most of the state is in drought currently. We have large portions of northern Alabama and southern Alabama in D3 extreme or severe drought up into the North Alabama. I think 2016 is a good analogy. In 2016 is a little different in that the heat and dryness existed well into the summer, the previous summer, and then it was almost the same conditions we're having right now in September, October. Here we you know, our summer was not quite as dry, and the onset was a little bit later. So the onset was more towards the end of July and August. But now our conditions are starting to ramp up, and it's starting to look a lot similar to 2016. Another example would be in 2019. We had a similar, actually this looks a bit more like 2019, where we had an okay summer for the most part. And in fact, a lot of crops were thought to be, above average yield coming into July. And then all of a sudden, kind of the spigot turned off. And so we've been in very hot, dry conditions starting in South Alabama, now into North Alabama. So 2016 is a good analogy, and 2019 is another good analogy.
It's somewhat of a feedback loop, because you have these months, this time period without any significant rainfall. So your soil moisture is pretty low. So when you get into the water cycle here, you're looking for something to evaporate back up, and there's not a lot of that right now.
That's exactly right. And in this time of year, October is normally dry. And so if, you go 2 or 3 weeks without rain in October, that's normally not that big of a deal, or it's not that uncommon. But when you enter that after not having rain throughout August and extreme temperatures in August, and then the same thing in September, you're exactly right. The soil moisture starts to get depleted. You're not getting evaporation. The plants are starting to be stressed. And so it's a feedback loop, exactly as you say. And as some colleagues of mine, we talk about drought begets drought, because the drier it gets, the hotter it gets, the less latent energy is pushed up into the atmosphere. And so really at this point, we're just kind of waiting for those winter frontal seasons to come in. And hopefully, we're technically in an El Nino. And so a typical El Nino pattern could hopefully mean more Gulf moisture coming through, but we're just not seeing that yet. And so we're just kind of, looking at the forecast 2-4 weeks out. It's just not looking great, but hopefully things will shift.
And in 30 seconds, we'll take you across the country and show you who else is dealing with their first freeze of the season. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Just a week ago, we had near record heat in Alabama, and now we're obviously dealing with bitter cold, just like millions of other Americans. Fox Weather's Katie Bryn has more.
Commuters in the Northeast de-iced windshields and blasted the heat on Thursday as the first freeze of the season hit. Overnight, temperatures in Philadelphia, New Jersey, and Delaware dropped below freezing at times and stayed in the 30s throughout the morning. After last week's summer-like weather, folks across the region are now scrambling to get their hats and gloves out of storage.
It was a little bit shocking walking out the door. It's a little cold today, but you know what? It is fall, so we've had some unusual weather, and this is nice too.
The National Weather Service says some 70 million Americans were under freeze warnings from Texas to southern New York. Over the past month, Minnesota has seen a 60-degree swing in temperatures, but with the mercury dipping into the 20s, some folks are rethinking their weekend plans.
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to Georgia this weekend and play golf. I'm getting out of here.
The bitter temps especially dangerous for the homeless. Relief missions like this one in Milwaukee service hundreds of people during the winter months. They rely strictly on donations and are in need of gloves, hats, and scarves, a need that's only expected to grow in the coming months.
Of course, in the wintertime, it becomes more, it's life and death. Last night, we had walk-ins, especially in our family shelter, just coming in out of the cold.
Back in the Northeast, forecasters expect temperatures to surge into the high 60s this weekend. In Philadelphia, Katie Byrne, Fox Weather.
So how long does the cold weather plan on sticking around for us here in Alabama? Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt will let you know when we return.
Well, very dry conditions, as we noted, the extreme drought across Alabama. And with it being so dry, look at how quickly the temperature is dropping off. 46 Pell City, 43 showing up. Now, that's coming from Vinemont there just north of Coleman, 49 at Centerville, and we're seeing 50s to the south. But everybody will deal with more lows down into the 30s tomorrow morning. We're going to get close to freezing in a lot of locations, and even by 9 o'clock tonight, we're starting to see some 30s popping up on the map. Coleman certainly, and out the door tomorrow morning. We'll stop it right there at 6 a.m. We're showing freezing Coleman, Fayette, Jasper, Gadsden, Center, and even to the south. I think we'll touch freezing around Clanton and over towards Rockford as well early in the day. But then we flip around, another nice rebound during the afternoon with mostly sunny weather. Afternoon highs in the upper 60s, close to 70 degrees. And you can see behind me here the wind speed actually south-southeast at 5 to 10, so it won't be terribly windy. Not a bad day tomorrow if you want to tackle some of the leaf cleanup, do a little yard work for tomorrow later in the day. But dry weather also, perfect night for high school football. You can see around 7 p.m. It's going to be a chilly Friday night, but perfect football weather there for Friday, and very dry, and perfect football weather for this weekend. Whatever plans you have, highs back in the 70s for this weekend. We have UAB homecoming, nice weather for the parade tomorrow, and for kickoff of the game, you can see 72 degrees. Auburn at Vanderbilt. So if you're traveling to Nashville, temperatures there around 70, and in Tuscaloosa, perfect for tailgating during the day. That big LSU game, 58 degrees at kickoff time. Planned for a chilly Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. And talk about another big game. JSU traveling over to Columbia, South Carolina at 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday. Should be some nice sunny weather with temperatures rising into the 60s. Now we fall back this weekend. Daylight saving time ends on Sunday, and I always like to use this as a good reminder to stay weather ready with Fox 6. And make sure if you don't have it, you download our First Alert weather app, and also double check that weather radio. And I know the weather's dry, it's calm right now, but a great time to make sure the smoke detectors, and just a good reminder there to test out the weather radio, make sure it's working as we head into the end of December, typically into the month of end of November and into the month of December. The weather tends to become a bit more active for us, as we know, into that fall severe weather season. But of course, very calm conditions through the weekend. Again, I mentioned some nice afternoons, still chilly at night, so plan for that. Next week, check out Wednesday, high temperature right there of 81 degrees as we go into the afternoon, and then you can see a small chance for a few showers as we go into the day on Thursday. But we're going to be talking more about the beyond the 7-day forecast now with meteorologist Lauren Linehan. And Lauren, we're watching the long-range data here closely, and it looked like next Wednesday we would see showers, and then we pushed it back to Thursday. So we just continue. It's the domino effect, right?
Yeah, you know how when you're sweeping, you just keep pushing that dirt along. That's what we've been doing.
Exactly.
Kind of keep sweeping those rain chances down the 7-day forecast, to where right now it's like almost beyond the 7-day when we could see that best chance of rain. Now, of course, it's cold right now. I think this winter chill has all gotten to us just a little bit. So let's look at that 6 to 10-day temperature outlook and check it out. It's not going to be staying cold. Instead, we're going to be seeing above average temperatures likely here across Alabama. So it's not out of the question that maybe by this time next week we could see close to 80 in the forecast. So here we are by the middle of next week. This is looking at November 8th through 17th. And so that's why on our 7-day forecast, Wes showed you, hey, we got upper 70s, low 80s. Once we get past next week, we do begin to see temperatures maybe moderate a little bit by the following weekend of November, and then going later into the middle of the month. So it doesn't look quite as warm anymore. But generally, before it gets cooler, it's going to get warmer again. We just have to get past tomorrow morning, of course. But what about those morning lows? Could we see any more frost or freeze potential in the forecast? Right now, November 8th through 17th doesn't look quite as likely as it looks now. But of course, we always tell you here when we're looking at beyond the 7-day, things can and will change. So always stay up to date with us here on Weather Extra. And of course, that First Alert weather app will be the first to alert you about any changes. But right now, I'm not seeing anything that's really standing out as a frost or freeze threat from November 8th through the 17th. I mean, it could be cool at times, but generally nothing too concerning. So let's look at that future cast beyond the 7-day. Here we are next Friday, November 10th, showing maybe, okay, Wes was talking about that potential for maybe some showers next Thursday, Friday time frame. So this is showing it right here. A little disturbance moving through by the end of next week that maybe could bring us some rainfall. But you'll notice as we go forward in time here, going into the weekend, it looks like we begin to dry out again as another little trough brings in some drier air, and that drier air sticking with us the following week. So here we are going into Tuesday, November 14th, and going through that week, you'll notice again, it looks like high pressure setting up over the southeast. And anytime you have that high pressure ridge setting up, that sinking air, that can really help to limit moisture. And that sinking air as well also helps the fact that that sinking air is going to prevent anything in the way of cloud formation, and so that can cause some drought conditions like we've already seen. As when JP was talking with that climatologist, he was talking about drought begets drought. When you have those dry conditions in place, it's hard to really gain any more moisture because dryness just keeps on going and going and going. So we've been talking about the possibility of a warm up, and though there is a warm up on the horizon, there's no denying we started off November on a cold note. And hey, the frost alone, we've been seeing your pictures, can tell that story. Take a look right here at some of the frost we got in across our area. You can see in central Alabama, we had some frost form on a windshield today, and then also we saw some on a rose as well. I feel real bad for that rose. I don't know how that rose is going to be looking in the days ahead, but certainly just a testament to the fact that we've got that frost threat around. We're not just going to have it for this morning like we saw, but I think as we go into tonight, we could also see the possibility of some frost as well. So a first alert for that. But before we wrap up this evening, we have one final break. We'll be right back. Okay. Well, once again, how did we end that? Was there, because I was talking during a VO and I was having to try to put something else here. So if it's a package, that's fine, but if it's a VO, I can't like talk and do it at the same time. Okay, so got it. Okay, cool. I got nervous. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, good to know. Okay, good. I was scared I'd mess something up there. Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Well, some more awesome fall color photos.
goodness.
You know, Lauren, you mentioned earlier, you look at the vegetation, it's almost like some of it's not too healthy, right?
I've seen prettier. Let's put it that way. But
Yes.
I think it's because the leaves need some moisture. I
They
don't
need some
blame
water.
them.
Yeah.
I'd be looking dehydrated too.
A little shriveled up.
Yeah, just a little shriveled. They are a little shrivelly.
Well, and just a reminder, you know, with all the leaves falling and doing a little yard work, no burning right now. We've been talking about that fire danger. We're going to talk more about that next. Possibility of rain